Well, Cole, you can finally rest easy. The wedding was yesterday. So many people came. When they talked about you, they all sang your praises. I've been with you for 30 years. Look at me now, gray hairs and all. Time really flies. In a private room in a long-term care facility, a woman with salt and pepper hair spoke to the man lying motionless in the bed. She was Cole's wife, Leah. Cole's life had been a good one. The only tragedy was the car accident a month before his son's wedding, which had left him a prisoner in his own body. His wife, Leah Sullivan, had been the most beautiful girl in their high school. They married, and a few years later, a developer bought the old family farmland, a lucky windfall that left them with enough money for 5 properties. One for their son, one for their daughter, one for themselves, and 2 commercial rentals that provided a steady, comfortable income. When his son graduated from college, Cole had signed a house over to him, wanting to give him a head start in life, free from the crushing weight of a mortgage. Now Cole could hear everything, but his body was a cage. He couldn't move, couldn't speak. He had planned it all out. After the wedding, he'd retire, take Leah on a road trip to see the country. They'd worked their whole lives for it. Just wake up, he pleaded silently. Please, just let me wake up. Leah sighed a long, weary sound. She looked down at him, her expression unreadable. You had a full life, Cole. It's a shame. A shame that after all this time, you still don't know. That our 2 children, they aren't yours. Boom. The words struck him like a bolt of lightning, shattering the quiet world of his mind. Cole's consciousness reeled. He couldn't believe it. 30 years. He had been a devoted father, an endlessly patient husband. He'd provided for their every need, given them everything they ever asked for. He'd worked harder than a plow horse, slaved away to build a perfect life for them. And now she was telling him the children weren't his? It's all your fault. Her voice, once soft, now dripped with venom. You chased me. You made such a scene that everyone in town knew. My parents were decent people. They were so embarrassed, they forced me to marry you. Cole remembered. He'd been relentless back then, wearing her down until she finally agreed to a date. He'd been so proud. After they were married, she'd been distant, cold. It was a full year before they finally slept together. Their daughter was born the next year. Suddenly, a memory surfaced. Right around that time, Tyler Vance, a guy from their town who Leah had been close with in high school, had gotten married. Could the baby have been? Cole's heart monitor began to shriek, the line on the screen jagged and frantic. Leah's eyes widened slightly. So you can hear me. A strange, cruel smile twisted her lips. Too bad you can't do a thing about it, you fool. 30 years raising another man's kids. How does that feel? You think I enjoyed being stuck with some uncultured hick for 3 decades? You got off easy. The truth hit Cole with the force of a physical blow. It all made sense now. The comments over the years, how the kids looked so much like Leah but had none of his features. He'd always brushed it off, proud that they'd inherited their mother's good looks. He'd been a walking, talking joke. You ruined my life, and now it's time for you to die. Go join that baby of yours that was never born. Leah's voice rose, her eyes landing on the ventilator tube. Baby? Cole's breathing hitched. He knew she'd had a miscarriage years ago. Was she saying that child? Had that one been his? Did you really think it was an accident? She sneered. Wrong. I couldn't stand the thought of carrying your child. I would never give you an heir. I wanted your family name to die with you. Her words were a curse, each one a hammer blow to his sanity. 30 years of sacrifice, 30 years of devotion, all built on a foundation of lies. Tyler's wife died recently, she said, her voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper. Once you're gone, we can finally be together. If it wasn't for you, I would have married him from the start. She stood up and walked toward the ventilator. NG-Chach. With a monumental effort, Cole forced his eyes open, glaring at her with all the hatred he could muster. This woman, who had always looked so elegant, so put together, was a monster. And an NG-Chach. He tried to sit up, to fight, but his body betrayed him. All he could do was stare, his eyes screaming the rage his voice could not. Go peacefully, Cole. Our son will inherit everything. You've done your part. Leah reached out and disconnected the tube. The suffocating pressure was immediate, a crushing weight on his chest. He hated her. He hated himself. He'd spent his whole life trying to melt the ice around her heart. only to find out he was just keeping another man's legacy warm. Tyler Vance. The damn guy couldn't even find a job until Cole had pulled some strings to get him a decent position at the plant. Without him, Tyler's family would have fallen apart. His entire life had been a lie. His perfect family? A sham. Cole's consciousness began to fade into a dark, roaring tunnel. And then, through the darkness, he heard Leah's voice again. But it sounded younger. Cole, get your hands off me, you creep. When Cole opened his eyes, he was standing in the woods behind the high school bleachers. In front of him, her face flushed with anger, was Leah Sullivan. A much younger Leah. I'm back. Cole looked around, his heart pounding. This place was a well-known make-out spot for couples. Seeing him dazed, Leah tried to bolt, but Cole's reflexes were faster. He grabbed her arm. The familiar scene jolted a memory from deep within his mind. This was the day it all went wrong. In the original timeline, she ran out screaming, creating a public spectacle that, ironically, ended up trapping her. In a small town, rumors were a cage. On a nearby bulletin board, a hand-painted banner read, "Seniors, finish strong. The future is yours." He had come back to his senior year, just weeks before graduation. 1991. Leah, what's going on between you and Tyler Vance? Cole asked, his voice steady. Why should I tell you? She shot back. I was thinking I could help you out. But if you don't want my help, fine. Cole made a move to turn away. Wait, she called out. Are you serious? Cole smirked inwardly. Typical Leah. All she ever cared about was Tyler. Cole had only ever been a backup plan, a safety net. Tyler Vance was one of Cole's friends, a decent guy on the surface, but he'd fallen in with a rough crowd after school. Northwood High was the best school in the county, and with final exams approaching, the administration was cracking down on discipline. In his first life, Cole had been so obsessed with chasing Leah that he'd completely bombed his finals, missing his shot at college. He'd gone straight to work at the local factory instead. It was one of his biggest regrets. If you don't like me, I get it. I'm ready to let it go, Cole said, channeling the cheesy lines from a sappy movie he knew teens loved back then. If you love someone, you should want to see them happy, right? If you help me, we can still be friends, Leah said, her eyes lighting up. Leah's father, a construction worker, had died in a fall when she was 10. Her mother had worked 2 jobs to raise her, a tough, proud woman who desperately wanted her daughter to have a better life. Tyler, on the other hand, came from money. His parents owned a couple of successful small businesses. He was handsome, athletic, the star of the basketball team, and popular with everyone. Cole played ball too, which is how he and Tyler became friends. So what's the catch? Leah asked, suddenly suspicious. No catch. We grew up together. I trust your judgment. In reality, Leah's mother couldn't stand Tyler. She saw him for the reckless troublemaker he was. Last time, he had convinced Leah to skip school, bought her expensive gifts, and swept her up in a whirlwind romance that tanked her grades. Desperate, Cole had gone to Leah's mom and told her everything. Her reaction had been unexpected. She said she'd known Cole his whole life and trusted him completely. She announced their engagement. Back then, getting engaged right out of high school wasn't unheard of. Leah had cried for days, but with the news spreading through their small town, her reputation was on the line. She'd gone to college, but after graduation, she'd dutifully married Cole. What Leah didn't know was that Tyler had another problem. Gambling. After his parents passed away, with no one to rein him in, he'd blown through his entire inheritance. The signs were already there in high school. The constant poker games with his friends, starting with nickel and dime bets that slowly escalated until he was hooked. Later, when Tyler couldn't find work, it was Cole who had helped him get a stable job. If you're so determined to be with him, Cole thought, the memory of the ventilator being disconnected still chilling him to the bone. Then this time, I'll make it happen. A dark part of him wanted revenge, but the Leah standing in front of him wasn't that monster yet. She was just a naive teenager. Wait for my signal, Cole said. Thank you, Cole. Leah beamed. Cole just smiled and walked away. A few days later, he was on the school basketball court. With finals so close, the normally packed court was almost empty, save for a few underclassmen. Heads up, a familiar voice shouted. Cole looked up to see Tyler Vance sinking a perfect jump shot. He dribbled, faked out a freshman, and scored again. Smooth. The guy had talent, no doubt. It was a shame he let himself go later in life with booze and cigarettes. Cole, get in here, man. Tyler tossed him a ball. Cole caught it, took a few steps back, and sank a three-pointer. Swish! A couple of girls sitting on the bleachers looked over. A guy who could play ball was always a big deal in high school. Maybe next time. I've still got homework, Cole said, tossing the ball back. Tyler waved his buddies back onto the court and walked over, pulling a pack of cigarettes from his pocket. Want one? Thanks, I'm good. Cole shook his head. So, what are you up to this weekend? Hitting up the pool hall downtown. They got some new slot machines, Tyler said with a grin. Not really my thing. Hey, you're the only senior out here. Everyone else is hitting the books. Cole chatted for a few more minutes, getting a feel for Tyler's plans. After school, he headed over to Leah's house. Mrs. Sullivan knew Cole well. He'd been coming over to see Leah since they were kids. He knocked on the door, which was opened by a scowling Leah. Don't tell me you messed it up. I knew I couldn't count on you. Cole chuckled himself. Some things never change. She hadn't even let him speak before jumping to conclusions. This time, I'm not saving you, he thought. You want this path? I'll help you down it. After all, respecting someone's choices is a virtue. He'll be at the cue ball pool hall this weekend, Cole said, forcing a smile. Leah's face lit up. Wow, you actually came through. Cole heard footsteps behind her. It had to be her mom. He quickly added, but as your friend, I have to say, it's our senior year. You should really be focusing on your grades. He knew the advice would go in one ear and out the other, but it was for Mrs. Sullivan's benefit. Leah, catching on, put on a sweet voice. I know, having a nice chat? You two should try to go to the same college. Mrs. Sullivan came into the living room holding 2 glasses of Ovaltine. Here, Cole, have a drink. Thanks, Mrs. Sullivan. Cole took a sip. It tasted exactly like he remembered. After a few minutes, Cole checked his watch. Well, I should get back to studying. It's getting late. Okay, honey, be safe on your way home, she said warmly. Cole glanced at Leah. See ya. Bye. As he closed the door behind him, he looked back at the small, tidy bungalow. Goodbye, he thought. Goodbye to my past life. This time, you can chase your love. I'm going to chase my future. Leaving Leah's, Cole walked the familiar route back to his own house. Seeing it again, exactly as it was before the developers came and tore it all down, brought a lump to his throat. The image had only existed in his memory for so long. Hey, you bum. Get in here and eat. His dad pulled up on his motorcycle, a plastic bucket strapped to the back, sloshing with the day's unsold fish. Cole had inherited his father's work ethic. His dad worked a full-time shift at the factory, but in his spare time, he'd go down to the river and cast a net. He'd sell the big ones at the market and bring the small ones home for dinner. Growing up, Cole had never wanted for anything. During his growth spurts, his mom made fish and tofu soup almost every night. How was the catch today, Dad? Cole asked, fighting back tears. His dad slapped the bucket. Save a couple of nice catfish for you. Awesome. Cole bounded into the house. Everything was the same. His mom was at her sewing machine, finishing a batch of shirt sleeves. She worked at a textile mill and often brought home extra piecework to earn a few extra dollars a day. The sewing machine had been part of her dowry. In the early 90s, a good monthly salary was only around $300. I was starting to think you two were never coming home. Dinner's been ready for an hour, she said, getting up and heading to the kitchen. I'll help, Mom. Cole followed her. His dad chuckled from the doorway. What's wrong? You bombed the practice SAT. His parents never pressured him about grades, as long as he tried his best. Nah, just miss your cooking, Mom. The catfish will have to wait for tomorrow. No time to clean it tonight. She set a plate of dinner rolls on the table. Cole looked at his parents. What would they think if they knew that, 30 years from now, the girl next door would murder their son? Were you at Leah's again? His mom asked, placing a piece of pot roast on his plate. Cole hesitated, then nodded. Yeah. Honestly, Cole. His mom sighed. After the way she's been treating you, why do you even bother? He remembered now. A few weeks ago, he'd told Mrs. Sullivan about Leah's skipping class, and the two of them had had a huge fight. His parents had seen how coldly she'd treated him since. Mom, Dad, I'm done, Cole said, taking a large bite of the roast. You can't force someone to love you. From now on, it's all about graduation and getting into college. His parents froze. His dad stopped chewing, his mouth half open. His mom reached over and pressed the back of her hand to Cole's forehead. Are you feeling okay? Did hell freeze over? Mom, I'm Fine. Cole laughed. He hadn't realized how used to his lovesick puppy act they'd become. His dad grinned and gave him a thumbs up. That's my boy. His mom suddenly shot up from her chair. I'm cooking up those catfish right now. You boys just wait. It was clear now. They'd never liked Leah's influence on him, but hadn't said anything for his sake. They were his parents through and through. A warmth spread through Cole's chest, and his eyes started to burn. Did you guys hear? Hear what? Tyler Vance from the other senior class got caught at a motel. And guess who was with him? Leah Sullivan. No way. She's like a straight-A student. A few days later, the gossip was buzzing through the classroom. Cole kept his head down, focused on a practice calculus problem. He glanced up at his chattering classmates. It had happened, just as he'd expected. Without him running interference, Leah and Tyler had fallen together naturally. They were in love, after all. A girl leaned over his desk. Hey, Cole, isn't Leah your childhood friend? You gonna go beat Tyler up? Cole just smiled. We're neighbors. That's all. Don't you have neighbors? His response shut them up. As class president, Cole had a certain amount of authority. In his past life, he'd lost that title when he let his grades slip while chasing Leah. You want the inside scoop? I'll tell you what happened, said his friend, a stout kid named Mark, sliding into the seat next to him. Before Cole could answer, Mark launched into the story. Apparently, Mrs. Sullivan worked the night shift and came home exhausted. Leah pretended to be asleep, and once her mom was out, she snuck out to meet Tyler. They went to a bar where he got her drunk. One thing led to another, and they ended up getting a room at the motel off the highway. But Mrs. Sullivan had woken up in the middle of the night to use the bathroom and noticed Leah's bedroom door was ajar. She looked in, saw the empty bed, and panicked. She started making calls, and eventually the school administration got involved. The teachers in 1991 were deeply invested in their students' lives, especially a top student like Leah from the senior class. When the principal and Mrs. Sullivan finally tracked them down at the motel, they found Leah and Tyler in bed together. Dude, I heard when they opened the door, it was like 3 in the morning, and they were all wrapped around each other. The room was a total mess. Whoa, seriously? The gossip hub had now shifted to Cole's desk, making it impossible to concentrate. Suddenly, another student ran into the classroom. Guys, Tyler's dad is here. Oh, it's about to go down. Let's go watch. A group of students scrambled for the door. You not coming? Mark asked. Let me finish this problem first. You can do it later. We can't miss this. Mark grabbed Cole's arm and dragged him out into the hall. Inside the principal's office, a man with a thick gold chain dangling over his polo shirt was smoking a cigarette. So, where's this little tramp who's trying to trap my son? Starting trouble at such a young age, said Tyler's father, Frank Vance, his voice dripping with contempt. Mr. Vance, I'm going to ask you to watch your tone, Mrs. Sullivan said, stepping into the office with Leah in tow. Frank Vance looked Leah up and down, a smug look on his face. All right, I'll make a concession. I hear your dad's not in the picture. How about $10,000 and we make this whole thing go away? The offer was so insulting that even the principal winced. But it was a family matter, and with both kids so close to graduation, he wanted it resolved quietly. Mrs. Sullivan, already overwhelmed, shot a furious look at her daughter. Look at the mess you've made. Leah just stared at the floor. Ma'am, I'm sorry, Tyler said, his tone anything but apologetic. I didn't mean any harm. I just like Leah, and I wanted to help her relax a little before finals. He was radiating a sense of superiority born from the clear difference in their family's wealth. Suddenly, Leah's eyes locked onto Cole, who was standing in the doorway. Her gaze turned venomous. Cole, it was you, wasn't it? You told my mother. She lunged toward him, ready to grab his shirt. Mrs. Sullivan had reached her limit. She stepped forward and slapped Leah hard across the face. Crack! The sound echoed through the silent office. After a long, stunned moment, the principal mumbled something about not hitting the children. Tears streamed down Mrs. Sullivan's face as she turned on her daughter. It was me. I woke up and you were gone. It had nothing to do with Cole. Leah froze, stunned. Cole, I'm so sorry, Mrs. Sullivan said, turning to him. Take care of yourself, Mrs. Sullivan. Cole replied with a nod, then turned and walked away. So much for staying out of the drama. It seemed to find him anyway. He was determined now more than ever to keep his distance from Leah until after graduation. Seeing her just soured his mood. He went to the boys' bathroom, splashed cold water on his face, and returned to his desk to study. Back in the classroom, a few students were still dissecting the drama. Cole sat down, but a moment later, he felt a tap on his shoulder. He turned to see a girl he didn't recognize at first. "Cole, I was wondering if you could help me with this function problem." She had straight-cut bangs and a quiet demeanor. It took him a second, but then he remembered. Chloe Peterson. She was one of the quietest girls in his year. But he recalled from his past life that she'd had a phenomenal performance on the final exams, coming in first in their entire graduating class. She'd gone on to Yale, became a leading research scientist, and won some major awards. "This looks new, but it's really just an old concept in a new package," Cole said, grabbing a piece of scratch paper and walking her through the steps. When he finished, Chloe broke into a bright smile. "Thank you so much. Hey, we're classmates." "Don't mention it," Cole said. "Was that Leah's mom earlier?" Chloe asked, closing her notebook. "Yeah, why?" Cole was surprised she'd paid any attention to the gossip. "You must be really upset," she said softly. "Look, how about I buy you a soda? To thank you for helping me with the problem." Cole considered it for a moment. Sure, why not? In 1991, brand-name sodas were still a bit of a treat and a popular social currency among students. After school, they went to a small diner with a soda fountain. Cole didn't waste the time, pulling out a vocabulary list to review for the SAT English section. Seeing how focused he was, Chloe took out her own textbook and started studying too. The diner was a popular hangout, and the owner didn't mind students using the booze to do homework as long as they ordered something. The light from the jukebox was bright enough to read by. "Cole, what are you doing here?" A sharp voice cut through the low hum of the diner. Cole looked up and saw Leah and her mother standing by the entrance. It looked like Mrs. Sullivan was trying to have a talk with her daughter, treating her to a soda as a peace offering. "Leah," Mrs. Sullivan tried to pull her back, but Leah had already marched over to their table. She stood over him, eyes blazing. "Cole, this is all your fault. If it wasn't for you, Tyler wouldn't have broken up with me." "Seriously? I get blamed for everything," Cole thought. He was just trying to study with Chloe, and somehow he was still in the crossfire. "Leah, come back here," Mrs. Sullivan pleaded, but Leah shook her arm off. She leaned over Cole's table, her voice thick with tears. "You were just jealous that I was with Tyler, weren't you? Did you have to go this far?" Just as Cole was about to stand up and set her straight, Chloe shot up from her seat. "Leah, we're trying to study," she said, her voice firm and clear. "Maybe you've forgotten, but we're seniors. Our priority is supposed to be graduating, not dating." Cole was floored. He'd never seen the quiet Chloe speak up like that. She was like a little firecracker, fierce and surprisingly cute. "This is between me and Cole. What does it have to do with an outsider like you?" Leah snapped. Chloe clenched her fists. "He's my class president, and he's tutoring me, so it has everything to do with me." "Oh, really? Is there something going on between you two? Don't be ridiculous. You think Cole would ever be interested in a nerd like you?" Leah sneered. "You." Chloe's face turned bright red, her breath catching in her throat. The diner owner just leaned against the counter, watching the show. Cole finally stood up. "Have you had enough?" His sharp tones silenced the entire diner. You're yelling at me? For a nerd." Leah looked at him in disbelief. In her memory, Cole had always been gentle, always yielding to her. He'd never raised his voice at her. "You're the one who decided to mess around with Tyler. What does that have to do with us?" Cole said, his voice cold. "We have to study for our finals. We don't have time for your drama." He dropped a couple of quarters on the table. "Chloe, let's go." Leah stared, dumbfounded, as the boy who had once doted on her turned his back without a second glance. It felt like something inside her had just broken, something she could never get back. A wave of panic hit her. "Cole, get back here. You explain yourself." Leah ran after him, trying to grab his arm. But this time, Mrs. Sullivan had seen enough. "Leah, what more do you want?" she cried out, her voice cracking. Leah froze and slowly turned to see her mother's face streaming with tears. "Mom, Smack!" A sharp, clean slap landed on Leah's cheek, stunning her into silence. Her mother had never hit her like that before. She'd been strict, yes, but never violent. Never this. Broken. "Mom, it's true, isn't it?" Leah whispered, her voice trembling. "To you." Cole is the real son. You've never even treated me like your daughter. You're not my mother. Smack. Another slap. Your father died when you were just a girl, Mrs. Sullivan sobbed. I worked 2 jobs to give you a life. How can you be so thoughtless? Just leave me alone. I want to live my own life. I'm not your puppet. Leah shrieked. Leah, how could you? The words were like 1,000 tiny cuts to Mrs. Sullivan's heart. I don't want you as my mother. Leah screamed, then turned and ran out of the diner, sobbing. This time, Mrs. Sullivan didn't follow. She collapsed onto the sidewalk, burying her face in her hands, her shoulders shaking with grief. Oh, Tom, do you see this? Look at our daughter. She wailed. It's my fault. I failed her. Ma'am, are you okay? Aren't you going after her? The diner owner asked, coming out from behind the counter and offering her a napkin. Thank you. Mrs. Sullivan sniffled. Let her go. If she thinks I'm a cage, if she wants to fly, then let her fly. Let her do whatever she wants. I'm done. She let her hands fall, her expression utterly defeated. In that moment, she seemed to age 10 years. From down the street, Cole watched the scene unfold, but made no move to intervene. The memory of Leah disconnecting his ventilator was a cold, hard knot in his gut. It was a chill that went straight to the bone. Cole, aren't you going to go help? Chloe asked, standing beside him with her backpack slung over her shoulder. Cole took a deep breath. I'd like to stay alive, thanks. Chloe didn't press. She just figured he didn't want to get tangled in the Sullivan family's mess, and she couldn't blame him. In the weeks that followed, Cole buried himself in his studies. He tuned out the school gossip and focused on one thing, acing his finals. His life fell into a simple, productive rhythm of school, studying, and sleep. While he and Leah grew more distant, he and Chloe became closer. They were both driven by the same goal, using education as a ticket to a better life. Being around someone so motivated pushed Cole to work even harder. He heard bits and pieces about Leah and Tyler. Apparently, Leah had a massive fight with her mother, and Tyler's parents had put him on lockdown. They drove him to and from school every day, giving him no chance to see Leah. For a while, it seemed like things might be getting back on track. On the next round of practice SATs, Cole and Chloe shocked everyone by scoring the top 2 spots in the entire senior class. Cole was number 1, Chloe a close second. I still can't beat you, Mr. President, Chloe teased, her smile radiant. I'm just ahead for now. You might have a better day when the real test comes, Cole said, handing her a cold bottle of Coke. Thanks, she said, her smile widening. But then her expression froze as she looked past him, out the classroom window. Cole, someone's here to see you. He glanced over. It was Leah. Cole turned back to his textbook. Don't know her. Just then, their homeroom teacher walked in, holding a stack of papers. All right, everyone settle down. I have an announcement. First, let's give a huge round of applause to our very own Cole Freeman and Chloe Peterson for scoring first and second in the entire school. The teacher led the applause, and the class joined in enthusiastically. Cole and Chloe are like our class power couple, someone whispered. Yeah, I used to think he and Leah Sullivan were a thing, but now? Leah's not even in his league. I'm shipping Cole and Chloe all the way. Thanks to all the teen dramas on TV, playing matchmaker was a popular pastime. Cole and Chloe, who were always studying together, had become the class's favorite pairing. Cole didn't bother correcting them. High school was almost over. This time, he was going to live his own life. The final exams are just around the corner, the teacher continued, and the district has offered 3 early admission scholarships this year. Let's all look to Cole and Chloe as examples of what hard work can achieve. On his way to the cafeteria for lunch, Cole was cornered by Leah. Leah, what's up? He asked, his tone polite but distant. He used to call her Lee, but now it was always her full name. Leah stood before him, her fists clenched and her eyes red-rimmed. Cole, I remember, she said, her voice barely a whisper. He frowned. What are you talking about? Us. We were married. We had children, Cole. 3 of them. She grabbed his sleeve, her grip desperate. It's the middle of the day, Leah. What kind of crazy talk is this? He pulled his arm away, but inwardly he was shaken. Could she have come back too? He suddenly remembered hearing something a few days earlier. After a terrible fight with her mother, Leah had jumped off the old bridge into the river. She nearly drowned but was pulled out just in time. People said she hadn't been the same since. He dismissed it as gossip, None of his business. You remember too, don't you? She pleaded. In our last life, it was an accident. I know you must hate me for it. You know, after you were gone, I got together with Tyler. I didn't realize until it was too late that all he wanted was the money you left behind. He never loved me. He gambled everything away, Cole. He sold the houses, ran up huge debts. He was a monster. He promised me that if you were gone, we'd have a good life. It was all a lie. And in the end, he tried to kill me for the insurance money. He turned on the gas while I was sleeping. Cole, let's start over. We can do it right this time, I swear. I'll be a good wife to you. I'll give you so many children. I'll spend my whole life making it up to you. Her words were a torrent of desperate, hysterical confession. Cole felt a surge of bitter irony. An accident? She had snarled at him as she ripped the tube from his throat, leaving him to suffocate. He could still feel the phantom panic, the burning in his lungs. It was an agony he would never forget. What are you talking about? I don't understand any of this, Cole said flatly, refusing to admit he remembered a thing. This life, he wanted nothing to do with her. Absolutely nothing. Cole, stop pretending. I'm sorry. I was wrong. I was so wrong. Tyler was the monster, and you were the one who truly loved me. Just give me one more chance. Please. She looked up at him, her eyes wide and pleading. Are you asking me out? Cole asked, his voice like ice. Leah's face lit up, mistaking his coldness for consideration. Yes, I knew you still loved me. We can date, go to the same college, and get married right after graduation. We can have that life back. Cole looked her dead in the eye. Sorry, but I have standards. What? A lot of people saw you and Tyler at that motel. He stepped around her and continued walking toward the cafeteria. Cole, please, just forgive me this one time, she cried, running after him. The old Cole would have caved. He would have forgiven her 1,000 times over. But that Cole was dead. This Cole felt nothing for her but a cold, hard disgust. Why was it that some people only learned to cherish something after they had destroyed it? Why did they wait until a heart was frozen solid to try and warm it up? Cole, we grew up together. Get back here. We're supposed to be together. We're meant to be. Cole. No matter how much she screamed his name, this time, Cole Freeman didn't look back. For a while, Leah tried everything. She'd show up at his house with breakfast or wait for him on his porch in the morning. She even tried to win over his parents, but they knew what had happened and politely kept their distance. It was becoming a nuisance. During study hall, he'd look up and see her staring at him through the classroom door window. If he went to the library, she would magically appear in the same aisle. Then one day, Cole heard that Tyler Vance had dropped out of school. And just like that, Leah disappeared from his life. Did you hear? Leah and Tyler are back together, Chloe told him one afternoon. Cole was packing his books. Why are you telling me that? Well, you two did grow up together. I just thought. You should know, Chloe said with a small smile. Cole gently flicked her forehead. Finals are in 2 days. You need to focus and get your head in the game. Don't you dare end up at a different school than me. Over their months of studying, they'd made a pact. They would both get into Yale, and then they'd see who could go further in life. Whether it was a joke or a promise, neither of them knew for sure. But even without the pact, Cole was giving it his all. The next time he saw Leah was after the very last final exam. She was climbing onto the back of Tyler's motorcycle. He handed her a helmet. Tyler's hair was bleached a garish yellow. Leah's was dyed a punk rock shade of bluish purple, and she was wearing a tight leather jacket. They looked like they were heading out of town, and fast. Cole didn't say hello. When he got home, he found Mrs. Sullivan crying on her front steps. She saw him, quickly wiped her tears, and forced a greeting. Cole just nodded and went inside. At dinner, his parents sighed over Leah's transformation. They were just glad to see that their son had finally, truly moved on. Cole's practice scores had been getting better and better, and they were confident that even if he'd had a bad day, he'd still get into a decent state school. Cole had a laugh at their modest expectations. When the acceptance letters arrived, his parents were speechless. This is from Yale. Oh my God, that's an Ivy League school. Cole was the valedictorian of his class, the top scorer in the county. Chloe was the salutatorian, number 2. In an instant, they were local celebrities. The school principal paid a personal visit to their house, offering to cover a portion of Cole's tuition. A Yale acceptance was a huge win for the school's reputation. His father, beaming with pride, threw a massive barbecue and invited every relative they had. For one shining day, the Freeman family was the talk of the town. But while they celebrated, a storm was brewing next door. Look at you. You don't even look like a student anymore. With that ridiculous hair. If your father were alive to see you now, it would kill him all over again. Mrs. Sullivan was sobbing, her gaze drifting toward the joyful noise coming from the Freeman's backyard, which only made her tears fall faster. Leah Sullivan died in a hospital bed. She had stayed with Tyler, but his gambling addiction only got worse, until he'd burned through his family's money and then some. In the end, he stole the money they'd saved for her hospital bills and lost it all at a poker game. When Leah found out, the shock sent her into distress in the delivery room, causing a massive hemorrhage. The medical technology at the time wasn't what it would be decades later. As they scrambled to find blood for a transfusion, they discovered she had a rare blood type. The baby was born, but due to Leah's smoking and drinking during the pregnancy, he had Down syndrome. Cole and Chloe learned the news years later during a visit back home. They had both gone to Yale, started dating, and got married after graduation. Cole had majored in computer engineering. He knew from his past life that the coming tech boom would change the world, and he wanted to be a part of it. Chloe had joined him, and together they founded a successful research firm, earning international acclaim for their work in semiconductor technology. Life was busy, but they always made time to come back to Northwood, where they were treated like heroes. Anyone who spoke of Cole Freeman and Chloe Peterson did so with a sense of hometown pride. One crisp autumn afternoon, Cole was walking hand in hand with Chloe down a quiet country lane. She smiled and leaned her head on his shoulder. You know, I was thinking, if I hadn't worked up a nerve to ask you for help with that math problem, would we have missed each other completely? You're asking me? You should ask him, Cole said, glancing down at Chloe's gently swelling belly. Oh, you. She playfully swatted his shoulder. He caught her hand and tucked it into his coat pocket. Just then, at the far end of the path, two figures appeared. An old woman with snow-white hair, a young man with the unmistakable features of Down syndrome, who looked far older than his years. It took Cole a moment to even place them. Leah Sullivan. The name was a ghost from a life that felt like it belonged to someone else. The old woman looked up and saw Cole. A look of deep shame crossed her face, and she quickly pulled her grandson along, hurrying away. The boy was putting his fingers in his mouth, muttering loudly, "Want chips? Chips? Do you know them?" Chloe asked, her voice soft. Cole smiled, his gaze fixed on the horizon. Maybe a long time ago. He looked out at the setting sun. The sky was a brilliant, peaceful crimson.